Have you ever felt trapped, like you're stuck living on autopilot while your true dreams slowly drift away? Imagine for a moment, your life suddenly transforms into an epic blockbuster, filled with courage, determination, and a plot twist you never saw coming. In today's video, you're about to discover 12 life-changing Stoic secrets that countless successful Americans swear by to break through self-doubt, conquer procrastination, and finally achieve their dreams, from mastering your mindset to building unstoppable resilience. This isn't just philosophy, it's your personal roadmap to real, lasting change. But here's the catch. The ultimate breakthrough that ties everything together is revealed only at the end, so stick around and prepare for a revelation that'll leave you speechless. Ready to rewrite your life script? Hit subscribe, ring the notification bell, and join thousands already experiencing the power of transformation. Your story deserves a spectacular turning point. Let's dive in together. Have you ever felt that unsettling sensation of life moving past you at an alarming speed while you remain perched on the sidelines, hesitant and unsure of how to begin? It's a feeling many of us know all too well. The frustration of recognizing our potential but lacking the spark to set it ablaze. Now, imagine if there were powerful, time-tested principles that could effectively break through that inertia and give you a clear roadmap for purposeful action. Enter the ancient wisdom of Stoicism, a philosophical tradition that dates back over 2 millennia, yet remains astonishingly relevant in our modern lives. The Stoics were steadfast believers in the notion that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can, through discipline and self-mastery, control how we respond. Through embracing certain mindsets and daily practices, they found ways to transform negative emotions, overcome fears, and most importantly, keep moving forward, even in the most challenging circumstances. In this comprehensive exploration, you will encounter 12 powerful Stoic lessons that serve as a catalyst for igniting meaningful action in your life. These lessons aren't merely intellectual curiosities extracted from ancient scrolls. They are robust, actionable insights that you can deploy this very moment to dismantle your procrastination, build genuine resilience, and chart a course toward your loftiest goals. You might be wondering, why Stoicism? After all, in a world brimming with self-help materials and motivational content, what sets these ancient teachings apart? The answer lies in the Stoics' unwavering focus on practical application. While they certainly engaged in philosophical reflection, the measure of Stoic wisdom wasn't just how elegantly one could philosophize, but how effectively one lived. As we unravel these teachings, you'll recognize a recurring theme. Freedom and clarity arise from training your mind to focus on what truly matters, letting go of distractions, and cultivating the virtues that guide you to consistent, courageous, and ethical action. The most remarkable aspect of these lessons is their timelessness. They were as helpful to the likes of Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, who all grappled with political upheaval, personal tragedies, and immense pressures of leadership, as they can be for us, contending with digital distractions, social complexities, and personal anxieties of the modern age. Consider how often you've said to yourself, "I know what I should do, but I just can't get started." Stoicism addresses that very disconnect between knowledge and action. It does so by encouraging you to reflect deeply on your fears, visualize potential roadblocks, strengthen your resilience through small, consistent steps, and see every challenge as an opportunity rather than a dead end. Embrace these ideas wholeheartedly and watch as new perspectives on personal agency, responsibility, and motivation begin to take hold. Over the course of this article, we'll walk through the 12 lessons in a structured manner, dividing them into 3 parts for clarity. Think of each lesson as a stepping stone, guiding you from a state of inertia to a place of empowered motion and purposeful living. By the end, you'll not only understand the reasons behind your procrastination and self-doubt, you'll have a comprehensive, Stoic-inspired toolkit to conquer them. Let's begin our journey by diving into the first 4 lessons, each carefully designed to illuminate new ways of thinking and acting. Before we explore the particulars of these Stoic lessons, let's shine a spotlight on the common stumbling blocks that keep us in a state of inertia. For many, the inability to act stems from an underlying fear of failure, fear of judgment, or even fear of success. Oddly enough, wanting something deeply can paralyze us when we imagine the responsibility that might come with achieving it. Perhaps you can recall a goal you once dreamt of accomplishing, starting a new business, writing a novel, or pursuing a creative endeavor, only to abandon it before ever setting sail. You might have convinced yourself you weren't good enough, or that the time simply wasn't right. Another major contributor to inaction is the overwhelming nature of modern life. We live in a hyper-connected world where emails, text messages, social media updates, and never-ending news cycles demand our attention 24/7. This digital cacophony can fragment our focus to the point where we lose a clear sense of direction. Additionally, a perceived lack of control over external circumstances, people's opinions, or global events can make us believe that our small actions don't matter, dampening our motivation to even try. Stoic philosophy squarely tackles these issues by reframing our perceptions. It teaches us that while life certainly can be chaotic, we always retain agency over our own minds, choices, and reactions. Epictetus, for instance, famously asserted that we must distinguish between what is within our control, our thoughts, decisions, and actions, and what is beyond it, such as the external environment or other people's responses. When you internalize this core principle, you discover a newfound sense of peace and direction. You realize that mastering your inner world becomes the key to effectively navigating the outer one. Moreover, the Stoics acknowledge that waiting for perfect conditions is futile. Seneca wrote about the folly of believing you have infinite time to start living the life you want. In aligning ourselves with the Stoic notion of memento mori, the awareness that our time here is limited, we become inspired to make the most of each fleeting moment. This urgent perspective propels us to take action, even if it involves stepping out of our cozy comfort zones. In the paragraphs that follow, we'll see that the 12 lessons are all interconnected, each one reinforcing the other. By embracing all of them, you build a strong philosophical framework that will stand firm when faced with setbacks, stress, and self-doubt. When that framework is in place, you cease to be a passive spectator in your own life and instead become an open participant. As you read, try to keep an open mind. Resist the impulse to dismiss these ideas as outdated or too abstract. The Stoics were nothing if not practical, and it's precisely this practicality that makes their teachings so effective in breaking the cycle of inaction. You may question how wisdom recorded thousands of years ago can still hold relevance in our fast-paced modern era. Yet Stoicism has persisted throughout the centuries not because it is dusty dogma or an esoteric curiosity, but because it elegantly addresses the universal challenges of the human condition, challenges that have remained constant despite profound technological and cultural changes. While we no longer live in ancient Greece or Rome, we do face many of the same emotional battles: anxiety, uncertainty, envy, anger, and discouragement. Stoic teachings offer timeless techniques for analyzing and regulating these emotions, underscoring that it isn't our external circumstances that shape our destiny, but our perspective and response to them. Consider the variety of contemporary icons who have publicly cited Stoicism as a guiding force. Entrepreneurs, athletes, authors, and political leaders alike have found value in these lessons, because they offer a blueprint for action in situations where stakes are high and emotions run wild. Whether it's keeping calm amid a business crisis, staying consistent with a rigorous training schedule, or simply persevering through a turbulent personal period, Stoic tools teach you to remain grounded and intentional. Moreover, Stoicism dovetails remarkably well with psychological frameworks used today. Many modern therapeutic approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, share core principles with the Stoics, namely the emphasis on recognizing and challenging irrational beliefs, adjusting one's perspective, and choosing constructive reactions over passive reactivity. These parallels remind us that Stoic philosophy isn't just theoretical, it's empirical, actionable, and incredibly potent when applied consistently. As you make your way through each lesson, remember that Stoicism doesn't ask you to deny your emotions or become immune to pain or discomfort. Rather, it encourages you to master them by understanding their roots and choosing how to engage with them. This mastery extends to every corner of your life, be it your career, relationships, or creative ambitions. Once you begin exercising that mental muscle of self-awareness and self-control, you'll find that procrastination, self-doubt, and hesitation lose much of their grip on you. What we'll do now is step into the heart of Stoicism by examining 4 foundational lessons that can drastically alter how you channel your energy. These lessons, rooted in the wisdom of renowned Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, lay the groundwork for regaining control over your life. They illuminate how to shift from a passive, reactive mindset to a proactive one. As you absorb these insights, don't just read them. Actively think about how they can apply to your own life situations. The power of Stoicism lies not in memorizing its teachings, but in practicing them daily. The first Stoic lesson is drawn from Epictetus, who asserted, "The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control." This statement goes right to the core of Stoic philosophy, highlighting the distinction between externals, such as other people's actions, natural events, or broader societal trends, and internals, our own thoughts, responses, and decisions. The modern world bombards us with so many variables: global news, economic uncertainties, social media debates, that it's easy to become mentally and emotionally scattered. You might catch yourself feeling stressed or angry about world events you can't influence, or exhausted by the relentless wave of information swirling around. By constantly fretting over externals, you squander the mental energy necessary to focus on the areas where you actually have influence: your personal behavior, your strategies for solving problems, and your frame of mind. The Stoics taught that acknowledging the difference between what you can and cannot control is not an exercise in resignation, but a practical means of prioritizing. Instead of wasting time on fruitless worries, you can funnel that energy into constructive tasks, completing important projects, nurturing meaningful relationships, or making progress toward a long-term personal objective. This redirection of effort catalyzes your sense of agency. A simple exercise you can try right now is to list out 5 concerns currently weighing on you. Next to each concern, specify whether you have direct control over the outcome. Often you'll find that many of these concerns revolve around external conditions, like the state of the economy or someone else's opinion of you, over which you have minimal or no authority. Labeling them as such helps you mentally separate them from the items you can genuinely do something about. Once you've identified the concerns that are within your sphere of influence, shift your focus to actionable steps. Perhaps you can refine your personal spending habits if you're worried about a looming recession, or improve your own performance if you're concerned about a coworker's negative feedback. Over time, consistently practicing this discernment cultivates a mental environment of clarity and calm. Instead of giving in to feelings of helplessness or despair, you become an active participant in your own life, tackling challenges with a measure of confidence. This shift in mindset is transformative. You'll notice less stress, more motivation, and a renewed determination to forge ahead even when circumstances look grim. In effect, learning to focus on what you can control is akin to steering your ship through turbulent waters. You might not have the power to calm the storm, but you can adjust your sails, secure your rigging, and choose the best course of action. By directing your energy toward those internal controls, your mindset, your habits, your effort, you lay the groundwork for real, sustainable progress. Growth and comfort rarely, if ever, occupy the same space. Seneca's advice to practice voluntary discomfort, wearing coarse clothing, eating simple meals, and reflecting on whether these mild deprivations were truly something to fear, perfectly illustrates the Stoic understanding that the good life is not necessarily the comfortable life. This notion is challenging for us today because modern society heavily promotes convenience, instant gratification, and perpetual comfort. From on-demand entertainment to next-day shipping, much of our daily experience is curated to eliminate struggle. But as convenient as these amenities may be, they can also soften our mental fortitude, leaving us ill-prepared to deal with real adversity. The heart of embracing discomfort is the recognition that adversity can be a powerful teacher. When you deliberately face minor hardships, you train yourself to remain calm and functional in the face of bigger challenges. It's not about being a martyr or needlessly depriving yourself. Rather, it's about conditioning your mind to realize that a certain level of discomfort isn't life-shattering. It might be inconvenient, unpleasant, or challenging, but it doesn't break you. This realization dismantles the exaggerated narratives your mind might spin whenever you consider stepping out of your comfort zone. One practical way to begin embracing discomfort is to identify a single manageable task that you've been putting off precisely because it's uncomfortable. It could be having a difficult conversation with a friend, venturing into a new exercise routine that makes you sweat more than you'd like, or picking up a skill that you feel too old to learn. Whatever it is, commit to tackling this task immediately. Schedule it. Do it today. The goal is not necessarily to be perfect at it, but to become familiar with the initial tension and anxiety that arise. Observe how it feels to push through. Take a moment afterward to reflect on whether the fear you had built up beforehand matched the reality of the experience. Over time, these small acts of stepping into discomfort accumulate into substantial mental resilience. You begin to see that your self-imposed limits, those internal scripts that say, "I can't do this," or "I'm not ready for that," are often just illusions. As you keep practicing and expanding your comfort zone, bigger aspirations suddenly feel more attainable. The gap between what you believe you can do and what you can actually do narrows. Furthermore, embracing discomfort fosters a growth mindset. When difficulties arise, whether in your personal life, career, or creative pursuits, you don't instinctively shy away. Instead, you approach them with an attitude of, "What can I learn here?" or "How can I become stronger from this?" This perspective shift energizes you to take bold action because you no longer interpret discomfort as a stop sign. Instead, it becomes a signal that you're stretching your capabilities. In a world that constantly nudges us toward ease and passivity, choosing to lean into discomfort is a genuinely revolutionary act. At first glance, negative visualization might sound like an invitation to pessimism, but for the Stoics it was a practical technique known as premeditatio malorum, literally premeditation of evils. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, instructed himself each morning to mentally prepare for encountering ingratitude, selfishness, and interference. Seneca similarly advised students to imagine worst-case scenarios so that they might meet adversity more gracefully. This practice isn't about wallowing in gloom. Rather, it's a measured approach to facing life's unpredictability by anticipating challenges and formulating responses in advance. Imagine you're about to undertake a significant creative project, like writing a book. Excitement might fill you, but inevitably doubts creep in. What if I can't finish? What if no one reads it? What if the feedback is harsh? In negative visualization, you allow yourself to dwell briefly on these possibilities in a controlled, intentional way. You don't aim to discourage yourself. Instead, you focus on how you would adapt and persevere if these scenarios came to pass. You might envision scheduling additional writing sessions or seeking the guidance of a writing mentor if you get stuck. You imagine how you'd handle harsh criticism with poise and use it constructively. This method does two vital things for you. First, it shrinks the power of anxiety. When we refuse to even acknowledge negative possibilities, they grow monstrous in the recesses of our minds. By shining a light on them, we see them for what they are, distinct possibilities that can be navigated if we plan wisely. Second, negative visualization primes us for adversity, which fosters resilience. In essence, you're mentally rehearsing your responses so that if or when a challenge actually manifests, your mind is already somewhat prepared. You become less reactive and more responsive. It's crucial, however, to confine negative visualization to a purposeful session rather than letting it flood your thoughts all day. The Stoics believed in balance. Dwell long enough to form a solid plan, but not so long that you become mired in despair. After visualizing potential obstacles, pivot your mind toward problem-solving and gratitude. This transition underscores that negative visualization is meant to complement optimism, not replace it. You still cultivate hope and positive expectations, but you also carry the practical safety net of a what-if-things-go-wrong blueprint. To apply this technique, set aside a few minutes at the start or end of your day. Choose a specific challenge, a job interview, a relationship issue, or a looming project. Write down the worst-case outcomes alongside a brief action plan for each. This can be as simple as a few bullet points outlining how you'd cope or adapt. Then, conclude the session by reminding yourself of your strengths, your past successes, and the value of staying hopeful. With consistent practice, you'll find yourself far less paralyzed by fear and more inclined to forge ahead, prepared for all contingencies. That sense of readiness is profoundly liberating. It loosens the shackles of uncertainty and gives you the courage to step boldly into action. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, famously asserted, "Well-being is realized by small steps, but is truly no small thing." In other words, even the grandest aspirations can be achieved through a consistent series of modest efforts. We often wait for bursts of motivation or ideal circumstances to get started, but large-scale transformation tends to be the byproduct of incremental day-by-day progress. This Stoic principle offers a powerful antidote to procrastination. Instead of being overwhelmed by the magnitude of a task, say writing an entire manuscript, training for a marathon, or learning a new language, you focus on the immediate step in front of you. Our minds are adept at magnifying big goals into insurmountable obstacles. For instance, if your dream is to change careers, you might be intimidated by the thought of returning to school, networking in a new industry, and perhaps relocating. The mere scope of these tasks can paralyze you. But if you break down the goal, researching possible programs, contacting one person a week for advice, updating your resume, a seemingly Herculean endeavor starts feeling manageable. With each small victory, you gain momentum and a growing sense of self-efficacy. A practical way to incorporate this principle into your daily life is through what you might call micro-commitments. Decide on one micro-action that aligns with your broader goal and pledge to complete it consistently for a set period. 7 days is a good start. For example, if you want to improve your health, commit to a 15-minute walk every evening or a set number of push-ups each morning. If you're aiming to become a better writer, write just 200 words a day, no matter how unpolished they might be. It may not seem like much at first, but repeated daily effort creates a powerful cumulative effect. Additionally, celebrating small accomplishments fortifies your discipline and drive. Modern neuroscience suggests that each time we complete a small task, our brain's reward system lights up, making us more receptive to tackling the next challenge. The Stoics didn't have the language of neurochemistry at their disposal, but they understood the essence of momentum and the importance of consistently reinforcing our own confidence. Ultimately, taking consistent small actions also intertwines with the Stoic emphasis on focusing on what you can control. You may not be able to control how quickly you land your dream job or how rapidly your body adapts to a new workout regime, but you can control your effort today. You can control whether you show up to the gym, whether you complete your 200 words, and whether you reach out to that potential mentor. This daily commitment, this repeated conscious decision to act, gradually stacks the odds in your favor, transforming your aspiration from a distant fantasy into a living, attainable reality. With these first 4 lessons, controlling what you can, embracing discomfort, visualizing potential pitfalls, and committing to small yet consistent actions, you're already well on your way to becoming a more proactive, resilient version of yourself. In the next part of this article, we'll delve into lessons 5 through 8, which dive deeper into the Stoic toolkit for discipline, resilience, and gratitude. Building upon our exploration of taking consistent small actions, we come face to face with the Stoic mandate for self-discipline. Epictetus famously taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This statement underscores a quintessential Stoic belief. Freedom is inextricably linked to one's ability to exercise self-control over internal impulses. Today, self-discipline can feel like an uphill battle. We're enticed by the never-ending scroll of social media, near-instant gratification through online shopping, and a swarm of digital entertainment options. In such an environment, the will to focus on meaningful tasks can swiftly diminish. However, the Stoics argued that lasting fulfillment springs not from indulging every whim, but from directing your energies mindfully. Self-discipline acts as the guiding hand that keeps you aligned with your broader aims, whether those aims revolve around personal growth, professional success, or ethical living. Without self-discipline, it's all too easy to ricochet from one fleeting desire to the next, never settling long enough to build meaningful progress. Perhaps you've experienced this. You decide to learn a new language, only to get sidetracked by a social media binge. Or you vow to save money, but an online sale proves too tempting. In these moments, the absence of discipline costs you not just time or money, but also an erosion of your self-trust. To practice self-discipline, you might begin by introducing small, strict boundaries in your daily routine. For instance, if social media distracts you, set designated screen-free intervals during the day, or switch off notifications for certain apps. Alternatively, if physical health is your goal, establish a strict exercise schedule and stick to it, even on days when you're tempted to skip. What's crucial is that your chosen discipline is realistic yet firm. Make it too overwhelming and you'll falter immediately. Make it too lenient and you're unlikely to see much benefit. Stoicism also teaches that self-discipline isn't just about denial or asceticism. It's about forging a harmonious relationship between reason and desire. Rather than mindlessly indulging or suppressing impulses, you learn to pause, evaluate them, and decide whether they serve your higher purpose. For example, if you crave a sugary snack, you don't automatically yield to or reject the craving. Instead, you think, does this choice align with my health goals? Will I feel better or worse afterward? This reflective moment is the birthplace of genuine self-control. Over time, these small decisions, made consistently, accumulate into what we might call a disciplined character. Your sense of personal freedom expands because you're no longer beholden to every external stimulus or internal whim. You chart your own course, fueled by your values and objectives rather than fleeting desires. This liberation from impulsivity forms the bedrock of a life lived in accordance with virtue, as the Stoics would say, and also sets the stage for tackling more ambitious endeavors. Once self-discipline becomes a habit, you'll find yourself making steady progress toward goals that once seemed too formidable to approach. Even with strong self-discipline and a committed approach to action, failure will inevitably rear its head at some point on your journey. For the Stoics, failure was not a permanent mark of inadequacy, but rather an opportunity to refine one's understanding and methods. Marcus Aurelius captured the essence of this idea when he said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This perspective invites us to view obstacles and failures as integral parts of growth, rather than as dire signals that we should abandon our efforts. Modern culture often portrays failure as something shameful. From early school experiences where poor grades can engender ridicule, to professional environments that tout unblemished success as the norm, we absorb the notion that stumbling equates to worthlessness. Stoicism calls us to question this narrative. If you can extract lessons from a failure, be it a botched project at work, a soured relationship, or a personal goal left unmet, you can refine your strategies and approach your future tasks with enhanced clarity. Failure then transitions from an end point to a pivotal step in your development. A practical exercise for embracing failure is to maintain a failure journal. Whenever you fall short of a goal, take a few minutes to dissect the experience. Ask yourself, what specific factors led to this outcome? Could I have foreseen any of them? What strategies did I use that failed, and why? This isn't an exercise in self-criticism or beating yourself up. On the contrary, it's meant to be constructive. By writing it down, you transform an emotional event, often accompanied by disappointment or embarrassment, into a valuable learning module. You become a detective, investigating the root causes, thus developing a more informed and resilient approach for next time. Additionally, reflecting on historical figures who experienced repeated failures can be inspiring. Think of innovators, athletes, and artists who faced ridicule or setbacks before achieving groundbreaking success. Their paths serve as a reminder that greatness doesn't unfold in a linear, error-free sequence. Rather, it's often punctuated by moments of significant defeat or doubt, each of which paves the way to deeper wisdom and resolve. When you adopt this Stoic-inspired stance on failure, you build an immunity of sorts against the sting of disappointment. Rather than letting one misstep define you, you view it as an event in a larger journey. This outlook fosters emotional resilience and a willingness to iterate. Gradually, you develop the confidence to tackle increasingly bold projects, knowing that each failed attempt simply fortifies your arsenal of knowledge. You become comfortable with the reality that mastery of any sort demands learning from mistakes. Each failure, when examined through a Stoic lens, crystallizes into a stepping stone that propels you toward your long-term objectives. Stoicism places a profound emphasis on the fleeting nature of life. Seneca captured this sentiment when he admonished, "You live as if you were destined to live forever. No thought of your frailty ever enters your head." At first, this might sound grim. Constantly reminding yourself of mortality seems like it would stoke existential dread, but the Stoics viewed it differently. By practicing memento mori, or remember that you will die, They intended to provoke a sense of purposeful urgency, compelling us to seize the day, rather than let it drift by. Why is urgency so critical? When you're acutely aware that your time is finite, it becomes harder to rationalize procrastination or complacency. The illusions that you can always do it tomorrow start to lose their grip. It's not about morbidly fixating on death. It's about understanding that each minute has a value that decreases over time. If you have an aspiration, writing a book, starting a business, or healing a strained relationship, recognizing that your opportunities are not unlimited can be the spark that motivates you to move forward. In practical terms, you can cultivate memento mori by incorporating small rituals into your daily routine. For example, you might spend a minute each morning reflecting on the truth that this day will never come again. Or keep a physical reminder. Some people wear a memento mori medallion or keep a skull image on their desk to prompt a moment of awareness. Such rituals can feel initially uncomfortable, as modern culture often sweeps mortality under the rug. Yet the Stoics would argue this confrontation with finitude imparts clarity and resolve. It frees you from wasting time on trivialities and guides you toward what genuinely matters. Another powerful exercise is writing your own epitaph or obituary. While it may sound morose, articulating how you want to be remembered can crystallize your core values and life goals. Do you want to be known for your kindness, creativity, or dedication to a cause? Once you articulate that vision, you can start living in a way that reflects it. You don't wait for someday to embody the person you aim to become. Embracing mortality also reshapes how we handle daily stressors. When you realize that life is finite, the petty irritations like traffic jams or minor disagreements tend to lose their edge. You become more inclined to prioritize peace of mind, meaningful connections, and genuine self-expression over fleeting gripes and anxieties. You might find yourself saying, "Is this really how I want to spend the limited time I have?" That single question can act as a potent filter, preventing you from getting dragged into unproductive or emotionally draining activities. In essence, living with urgency is not about panic or anxiety. It's about using the reality of life's brevity as fuel for deliberate, purposeful action. It cuts through procrastination, highlights your deepest values, and instills a strong sense of gratitude for each day, creating an environment in which meaningful goals can flourish. In tandem with the urgency that comes from memento mori, Stoicism also teaches the importance of gratitude. Epictetus put it succinctly, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Our consumer-driven culture often fixates on aspiration, what we want next, what we don't have, and how we compare to others. While ambition can spur us onward, it can also breed a sense of perpetual dissatisfaction if we never pause to appreciate our existing blessings. Gratitude serves as a grounding force, ensuring that the drive to improve doesn't devolve into chronic discontent. By reflecting on your present assets, be they supportive relationships, stable health, or access to education, you develop a balanced perspective. This shift in outlook has tangible psychological benefits, often linked to increased well-being and resilience. Recognizing the good around you can transform your sense of scarcity into one of abundance, which in turn provides a boost of optimism. Optimism, when balanced with Stoic realism, becomes a powerful catalyst for constructive action. A straightforward way to integrate gratitude into your daily routine is by keeping a journal specifically dedicated to it. Each morning or evening, jot down 3 things you're thankful for. They don't have to be monumental. Maybe you're grateful for the friend who listened to you vent about a hard day, the coworker who offered help on a project, or simply the fact that you have safe drinking water. The key is consistency. Over time, this small ritual shapes the lens through which you view the world, making you more alert to positive aspects you might have previously overlooked. Furthermore, gratitude doesn't mean you stop striving for growth. The Stoics were not about complacency. Rather, they believed that acknowledging and cherishing what you have can anchor your pursuit of the next step. For example, if you're learning a new skill, express gratitude for your learning opportunities and for each incremental improvement you notice. This positive reinforcement helps guard against the self-defeating thought patterns that can emerge when progress seems slow. You become less likely to be discouraged by setbacks because you've conditioned yourself to see how far you've already come rather than lament how far you have left to go. When combined with the sense of urgency from memento mori, gratitude creates a potent motivational balance. You appreciate the gifts of the present while also recognizing the ticking clock. This equilibrium spurs you into action from a place of positivity rather than desperation. You don't act solely because time is running out. You also act because you're genuinely happy for what you have and want to build upon it. In practical terms, a gratitude mindset can diffuse anxieties and foster healthier relationships, better decision-making, and a clearer sense of priorities. By focusing on the good in your life, you minimize the mental chatter that fuels procrastination and self-doubt, setting a clearer path to your goals. Lessons 5 through 8, self-discipline, embracing failure, urgency, and gratitude, interlock to form a comprehensive framework for resilience. Self-discipline ensures that your aspirations aren't thwarted by every passing temptation or mood swing. It gives you the inner fortitude to stay the course. Embracing failure transforms stumbling blocks into educational opportunities, reframing your entire relationship with risk and fear. Living with urgency reminds you that each day is an irretrievable resource, galvanizing you to act rather than wait. Gratitude, meanwhile, keeps your spirit buoyant and prevents the pursuit of goals from becoming an exercise in relentless dissatisfaction. Taken together, these lessons develop your emotional elasticity. For instance, when you slip up on a disciplined routine, say you skip your workouts for a week, you resist the inclination to spiral into self-criticism or abandon the project altogether. Instead, you apply the Stoic lens of seeing this setback as a temporary lapse. You decode what went wrong, maybe you overcommitted or let stress overshadow your priorities, and you realign with your purpose and time frame, fueled by the knowledge that life is short and that you still have much to be thankful for. Gratitude. This holistic approach also has ripple effects in how you interact with others. Because Stoicism includes an ethical dimension, courage, justice, wisdom, and self-control, cultivating discipline and gratitude doesn't just benefit your personal goals. It often deepens your capacity for empathy and patience. If a colleague at work fails in a joint project, instead of rushing to blame or judge them, you might see the event as a learning moment for both parties. You apply humility to understand the root cause and work collaboratively on solutions. This fosters a more constructive, less accusatory environment, helping both you and your team grow stronger. Similarly, the urgency that arises from remembering death can sharpen the quality of your relationships. You might be more inclined to resolve a conflict quickly or express appreciation to loved ones. Gratitude then reinforces this inclination as you recognize how significant these people are in your life. In turn, a disciplined approach to communication, actively listening, withholding rash judgments, improves the nature of your interactions. Altogether, these Stoic principles shape a life that's robust and purposeful, not just in isolated personal pursuits, but also in communal and interpersonal spheres. One practical strategy for weaving these lessons into daily life is to set aside a brief reflective period at the end of the day, a kind of Stoic check-in. Ask yourself, did I honor my commitments today? How did I handle setbacks? Did I remember life's brevity in my choices? What am I grateful for right now? By making this reflection a consistent part of your routine, you reinforce the Stoic mindset bit by bit. Over weeks and months, these small reflections accumulate into profound changes in your behavior, your stress levels, and your outlook on life. The best part is that none of these Stoic lessons are mutually exclusive. They strengthen each other, creating a positive feedback loop that can sustain you through challenges, large and small. It often helps to see how these Stoic teachings manifest in concrete, real-world scenarios. Take, for instance, an aspiring entrepreneur named Elena who dreams of launching a software startup. At first, she's paralyzed by the fear of failure. What if the product flops? What if investors reject the idea? And she keeps postponing any serious action. Inspired by Stoicism, she starts with small, disciplined steps. Lesson 4. By committing to build a minimum viable product over a set time frame, she deliberately embraces discomfort. Lesson 2. By reaching out to potential customers for feedback, risking rejection or criticism. When a crucial client backs out, Elena experiences a gut punch of disappointment, but she reframes it through the lens of embracing failure. Lesson 6. She examines what went wrong. Perhaps her pitch was too generic, or her product features didn't address the client's specific needs, and uses this insight to refine her approach. She also maintains perspective by focusing on what she can control. Lesson 1. Her development strategy and how she communicates with potential clients. Rather than dwell on negative perceptions she can't alter, she invests energy into iterative improvements. All the while, Elena keeps a strong sense of urgency, Lesson 7, by reminding herself that the competition in the tech space is fierce, and time spent procrastinating is opportunity lost. She might even keep a memento mori object on her desk, a simple hourglass or a small card, to remind her daily that every minute counts. Balancing this sense of urgency with gratitude, Lesson 8, she acknowledges how fortunate she is to have the resources and the education to attempt such a venture. She starts her mornings by writing down one thing about her entrepreneurial journey she's grateful for. A supportive friend, a piece of constructive feedback, or simply the ability to learn from online tutorials. As her company takes shape, Elena's self-discipline, Lesson 5, anchors her through long hours of coding and networking. Yet she's vigilant about burnout because Stoic discipline also involves wisdom in self-care. When she feels overwhelmed, she practices mindfulness, a concept that aligns with Marcus Aurelius's emphasis on staying present. We'll explore that in Lesson 10. If a new setback emerges, a competitor releases a similar product, she applies negative visualization, Lesson 3, to imagine worst-case scenarios and how she would address them. Having already rehearsed these mental exercises, she's not caught off guard and can pivot swiftly with a contingency plan. Over time, Elena builds a resilient mindset. She doesn't view challenges as signals to quit, but as natural progress markers in her journey. Every principle feeds into the next. Her discipline fortifies her against setbacks. Her gratitude keeps her morale high. Her acceptance of failure fosters adaptability. Her urgency propels her to take timely action. Although her path isn't free from struggles and missteps, these Stoic practices equip her with a mental and emotional toolkit that many entrepreneurs lack. In essence, she models what it means to embody philosophy rather than merely talk about it, turning Stoic concepts into real-world triumphs. By now, you've seen how Lessons 1 through 8 coalesce into a powerful scheme for personal development and action-taking. You understand the importance of controlling what you can while releasing what you cannot, embracing discomfort as a pathway to growth, visualizing potential failures to remain prepared, and taking consistent small steps. The discipline to stay the course, learn from failures, act with the awareness of life's limited time, and remain grateful for what you already possess all combine to nurture a steady, resilient spirit. What lies ahead are 4 more Stoic lessons, 9 through 12, that will round out this transformative framework by addressing the importance of continuous learning, mindfulness, virtue, and personal responsibility. These lessons deepen your philosophical grounding, ensuring that the actions you take aren't merely efficient but also ethically aligned and deeply meaningful. After all, Stoicism isn't just about ticking boxes, it's fundamentally a guide to living well in a moral sense. In the final part of this article, you'll discover how an ongoing commitment to seeking wisdom keeps you open-minded and adaptable, an essential trait in a rapidly changing world. You'll also learn how mindfulness can center you amid chaos, how cultivating virtue acts as a moral compass for all your endeavors, and how taking ultimate responsibility for your life aligns you with the truth that your destiny, at least in the realm of your own choices, always rests in your hands. As you prepare to move on, it can be helpful to revisit the first 8 lessons and jot down which ones resonate most strongly with you. Perhaps you've already recognized that negativity about past failures has prevented you from trying again, or that a lack of self-discipline has hindered your ambitions. Maybe the concept of memento mori has sparked a newfound sense of urgency. Or you've experimented with a gratitude journal and noticed shifts in your daily outlook. By identifying these personal connections, you pave the way for even more profound growth when we dive into the final lessons. Keep in mind that Stoicism, as with any deep philosophy, yields its treasures most generously to those willing to integrate it into daily practice. Merely reading about these principles can be inspirational, but it's the sustained application, be it through journaling, reflective exercises, or actively challenging your habits, that crystallizes the real transformation. So, take a moment to congratulate yourself on your progress thus far. You've invested time in understanding timeless teachings that have guided statesmen, generals, slaves, turned philosophers, and everyday individuals throughout history. We're now ready to embark on the concluding segment of this Stoic journey, which will equip you with the final puzzle pieces for a life characterized by purposeful, fearless, and ethically grounded action. By melding all 12 lessons, you'll hold a robust philosophical blueprint capable of guiding you through life's many hurdles and equally ready to help you savor its triumphs and joys. Building on the momentum from the first 8 lessons, we arrive at Lesson 9, Seek Wisdom Continuously. Epictetus famously remarked, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This serves as a poignant reminder that genuine growth often requires humility and an eagerness to learn. In our modern era, expertise is frequently prized and people can be reluctant to admit ignorance. Yet Stoicism suggests that clinging to a facade of knowledge or competence can impede meaningful progress. By contrast, acknowledging that there's more to learn opens the door for new insights and breakthroughs. To keep learning, it helps to cultivate a structured approach. Perhaps you can set aside 20 minutes each day to read books or articles on subjects that challenge your existing perspectives, or enroll in an online course that pushes you out of your comfort zone. This might not be limited to formal education. A conversation with someone more experienced, a podcast exploring philosophical questions, or hands-on practice in a skill you're trying to master can be equally enlightening. Stoicism invites you to be a perpetual student in the grand school of life. Moreover, seeking wisdom continuously is tied to self-awareness. When you hold a mirror to your own thoughts and actions, you'll often spot the biases and blind spots that hamper your performance and well-being. Marcus Aurelius frequently wrote in his private journals about his personal faults, not as a form of self-flagellation, but as an exercise in self-improvement. If even an emperor recognized the need for ongoing introspection, how much more might we, in our everyday lives, benefit from pausing and reassessing our assumptions? In a practical sense, you can integrate this lesson by making reflective thinking part of your morning or evening routine. As you work through this habit, pay special attention to areas where you feel resistant to change, places where you catch yourself saying, "That's just how I am," or "I already know enough about that." These mental roadblocks often indicate precisely where you need more wisdom. Another step is to actively seek out constructive criticism rather than waiting for it to ambush you. Share your work or ideas with trusted peers or mentors, asking them to point out weaknesses. Embrace that feedback as an opportunity for refinement rather than a personal attack. Ultimately, the pursuit of wisdom shouldn't be viewed as a chore. It can be an exhilarating journey that broadens your worldview, enriches your relationships, and strengthens your capacity for action. The Stoics believe that wisdom isn't a finite destination but a lifelong quest that yields ever more nuanced understandings of ourselves and the universe. Approached with curiosity, humility, and consistency, it becomes a continuous source of motivation that keeps you evolving and adapting, no matter the obstacles you face. In a world where it's easy to get complacent once you achieve a certain level of skill or comfort, a Stoic commitment to ongoing learning ensures that you remain agile, resilient, and open to fresh possibilities. Hand in hand with the quest for wisdom is the practice of mindfulness, a principle that resonates strongly with Marcus Aurelius's reflection, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Mindfulness, in a Stoic sense, is about maintaining awareness in the present moment without being hijacked by external chaos or internal turmoil. While many associate mindfulness with Eastern traditions like Buddhism, Stoicism also places substantial emphasis on the power of focused attention and inner calm. Imagine waking up in the morning already bombarded by a barrage of thoughts. A looming work deadline, a tense relationship issue, or an unresolved personal dilemma. Before you've even left your bed, stress seizes the reins of your mind. A mindful Stoic approach would encourage you to gently notice these anxious thoughts, acknowledge them, label them as worries about the future or regrets about the past, and then guide your attention to what is actionable in the present. This doesn't mean you ignore genuine problems. Rather, you meet them from a place of calm readiness, instead of letting them spin you into panic or avoidance. A simple mindfulness exercise is the Stoic pause, a brief interlude of conscious breathing and observation. When you sense your emotions flaring, anger in a dispute, fear before a presentation, or frustration in a traffic jam, pause for a few deep breaths. During that pause, remind yourself of the Stoic teachings. These emotions are signals, but they don't have to dictate my actions. From that point of greater composure, you can choose a response that aligns with your values rather than merely reacting based on adrenaline or habit. Additionally, you can incorporate mindfulness into your daily routines. When you eat, truly focus on the flavors and textures of your meal instead of scrolling through social media. When you walk, observe your surroundings, the feel of the ground under your feet, the sounds in the environment, the gentle movement of air around you. These small moments of attentiveness accumulate into a more grounded life, one in which you're less likely to ruminate endlessly on past regrets or future anxieties. Stoic mindfulness also encourages you to be vigilant about your self-talk. Epictetus reminded his students that it's not external events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Thus, when you catch yourself spiraling into negative self-commentary, "I can't handle this, I always fail, this day is ruined," you can step back, question these judgments, and reframe them more productively. You might think, "This challenge is tough, but I'm equipped to handle tough things, and I'll learn something in the process." In weaving mindfulness into your life, you become adept at keeping your mental environment clear and balanced. Even amid substantial external pressure, you strengthen your ability to focus on the task at hand, which in turn enhances productivity and decision-making. Coupled with the Stoic emphasis on focusing on what you can control, Mindfulness ensures that your energy is invested optimally and your emotional equilibrium remains intact. It's a potent tool for steering through life's turbulence with grace and resilience. For the Stoics, virtue isn't just a moral garnish, it's the core of a life well lived. The four cardinal virtues in Stoicism are wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control, each acting as a guiding principle in how you think and act. Seneca highlighted this focus when he famously noted, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." In essence, if you lack a clear moral compass, even the best strategies or greatest external successes can feel hollow or misguided. Cultivating virtue requires consistent self-reflection and a willingness to align your daily choices with your most cherished values. Wisdom entails not just amassing knowledge but applying sound judgment to distinguish between beneficial and harmful choices. Justice involves treating others fairly and with respect, recognizing our shared humanity. Courage goes beyond battlefield heroics, manifesting in everyday acts like speaking up for what's right or taking calculated risks in the name of progress. And self-control underpins them all, ensuring that fleeting passions don't derail your deeper commitments. A practical approach to embedding virtue in your life might start with identifying one virtue you want to nurture more actively. Let's say you choose courage. Each morning, set a small intention related to courage. Perhaps it's voicing a constructive opinion at work rather than staying silent, or approaching a difficult conversation you've been avoiding. By nightfall, reflect on how you performed relative to your intention. Did you remain consistent with your goal, or did you shy away? What factors contributed to either outcome? This habit of daily accountability turns abstract virtues into tangible behaviors, forging a stronger moral identity over time. Virtue-based action also harmonizes beautifully with other Stoic lessons. For instance, focusing on what you can control, Lesson 1, gains more depth when you're certain that your actions aim at a moral good. Embracing discomfort, Lesson 2, becomes more purposeful when you see that stepping out of your comfort zone promotes justice or courage. Even gratitude, Lesson 8, can be informed by a sense of virtue, as you acknowledge not just the gifts in your life, but also the opportunities you have to contribute positively to the world around you. Moreover, virtue offers a stable foundation amid external turmoil. If economic conditions become unfavorable or if you encounter personal hardship, leaning on virtue ensures you remain anchored in principles rather than external validations. This is the crux of the Stoic belief that a person grounded in virtue experiences an unassailable form of happiness, or eudaimonia, independent of fluctuating fortunes. You don't base your self-worth on accolades or possessions, but on the integrity of your actions and the consistency of your character. Ultimately, cultivating virtue is an ongoing journey that intersects with each facet of life, from how you handle workplace dilemmas to how you manage intimate relationships. By orienting yourself toward moral excellence, you give your life a cohesive structure. Your actions become more meaningful and your sense of purpose becomes clearer. In the grand tapestry of Stoic practice, virtue is the unifying thread that enriches and dignifies everything else you do. Rounding out our list is Lesson 12. Take responsibility for your life. At its heart, this lesson crystallizes the entire Stoic approach. Epictetus famously taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." If you are the master of your responses, then you hold the keys to your own destiny, regardless of external circumstance. This level of personal accountability runs counter to the blame culture prevalent in many areas of modern life, where we often seek to offload responsibility for our well-being onto external forces, governments, employers, family, or fate itself. However, Stoicism boldly asserts that the ultimate power lies within our own minds. That doesn't mean external conditions are irrelevant. It means that your interpretation of and response to those conditions matter more than the conditions themselves. When you take total responsibility, you relinquish excuses that hamper your progress. You shift from saying, "I couldn't exercise because work was too hectic," to, "I chose not to exercise because I didn't manage my schedule effectively." It's a subtle but profound difference, aligning with the Stoic emphasis on controlling what you can, your decisions and mindset, rather than lamenting what you can't, the demands of your job. In practical application, you might begin each day with the responsibility affirmation, a statement that reminds you of your agency. For instance, "Today, I own my emotions, my decisions, and my outcomes to the best of my ability." When a challenge arises, a coworker's negative remark or an unexpected financial hurdle, pause and ask, "How can I respond to this in a way that aligns with my values and goals?" Over time, this shift in perspective becomes ingrained. You see yourself not as a passive bystander but as an active agent, capable of steering events where possible and adapting gracefully where you cannot. Taking responsibility also dovetails with the notion of accountability to others. While Stoicism emphasizes self-control and internal governance, it doesn't advocate solipsism or isolation. On the contrary, recognizing that your choices affect others can deepen your sense of responsibility. If you're part of a family, team, or community, acting in alignment with Stoic principles means striving to be a reliable and virtuous contributor to that collective. Sometimes this means offering help without being asked. Other times, it might involve acknowledging mistakes and rectifying them. This final lesson acts like a capstone, merging all previous teachings. You can't effectively control your reactions, Lesson 1, embrace discomfort, Lesson 2, learn from failure, Lesson 6, or harness urgency, Lesson 7, without accepting that you alone are accountable for how you navigate these challenges. Instead of waiting for ideal circumstances or external permissions, you step forward and shape your own course, guided by virtue, Lesson 11, and illuminated by constant learning, Lesson 9, and mindful attention, Lesson 10. This is where Stoicism transcends mere philosophy and becomes a robust way of life, one in which every moment is an opportunity to exercise discernment, courage, and purpose. Beyond these 12 lessons, there's a bonus Stoic-inspired practice that can bind them all together in a single, cohesive routine: maintaining a daily Stoic journal. Think of it as your personal laboratory for self-discovery, resilience building, and life planning. The idea is to bookend each day with brief writing sessions, 5 minutes in the morning to set intentions and 5 minutes in the evening to reflect on outcomes. In many ways, it's like giving yourself a mini Stoic seminar every single day. In your morning entry, outline your key focus based on one or more Stoic lessons. For instance, you might decide to concentrate on practicing mindfulness that day, Lesson 10, or reinforcing a particular virtue, Lesson 11. You can also use this time to anticipate challenges, such as a difficult conversation at work, and mentally rehearse your measured Stoic response. This echoes the principle of negative visualization, Lesson 3, allowing you to plan how to handle. When evening arrives, spend a few minutes reviewing your day. Did you uphold the virtue you set out to strengthen? Did you handle unexpected issues with grace and emotional control? Or did you slip into frustration and blame? How well did you focus on what you can control rather than fixating on externalities? Be honest, yet compassionate with yourself. The purpose isn't to create a log of self-condemnation, but to nurture a cycle of continuous learning and self-improvement. One valuable element you can incorporate is a concise gratitude list, reinforcing Lesson 8. Even if your day felt overwhelmingly negative, forcing yourself to find a silver lining, a supportive friend, a small personal achievement, or even a moment of laughter realigns your perspective. Over time, these small acts of consistent reflection accumulate into larger shifts in behavior and mindset. You start noticing patterns, triggers that sabotage your self-discipline, scenarios that prompt unproductive anxiety, or recurring moments when you shy away from discomfort. Identifying these patterns arms you with the insight needed to break them. This journaling routine is also a direct pathway to practicing responsibility. Lesson 12. Because you're logging your choices and their consequences, it becomes impossible to offload blame for recurring issues. You see the role you played, and you witness how incremental changes, be it waking up 30 minutes earlier or politely asserting your boundaries, can alter outcomes over time. The daily Stoic journal thus becomes both mirror and map, reflecting your true state while guiding your next steps. Many people find that committing to this practice is the tipping point between intellectual interest in Stoicism and real-life transformation. You don't need elaborate tools, just a notebook or even a digital file. The key is consistency and sincerity. When you think of the world's great achievers, you'll often discover that regular self-reflection formed part of their success formula. For the Stoics, journaling was less about recording external events and more about training the mind to interpret and respond to those events in the most virtuous and effective way possible. By adopting this habit, you create a direct link between theory and practice, ensuring that the 12 lessons you've learned don't remain inert, but instead become living principles guiding each new day. Having navigated the full constellation of Stoic teachings, ranging from focusing on what you can control to taking full responsibility for your life, you are now equipped with a versatile toolkit for personal growth. These 12 lessons interrelate, forming a cohesive tapestry that addresses both the mental and emotional blocks preventing us from taking meaningful action. By repeatedly working with them, you'll discover overlaps that reinforce each other in surprising ways. For example, practicing mindfulness, Lesson 10, can increase your self-discipline, Lesson 5, by helping you notice impulses before they lead to procrastination. Embracing discomfort, Lesson 2, nurtures a sense of urgency, Lesson 7, because once you accept that life is brief and that adversity can be a teacher, you're less willing to squander time. One of the most profound transformations you'll experience is a shift in perspective. From perceiving life as a random series of trials to seeing it as a field of opportunities for character development, the Stoic approach elevates everyday tasks and interactions into arenas where virtue, resilience, and self-discovery are constantly in play. This is why knowledge alone isn't enough. Application is the key that unlocks the real power of these lessons. Recall Epictetus's admonition, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." The more you translate Stoic wisdom into habits, whether through journaling, mindful pauses, or consistent self-checks, the more those lessons will become second nature. In practical terms, you might develop a weekly or monthly review to gauge your performance across the 12 lessons. Are you consistently applying negative visualization, Lesson 3, for major projects? How often do you take small, consistent actions, Lesson 4, toward your most pressing goals? Is gratitude, Lesson 8, still alive in your daily routine, or has it faded into an afterthought? By approaching your personal development with the same diligence you might use in a professional setting, you grant yourself the systematic structure needed to ensure steady progress. Furthermore, it's important to remember that these lessons are not a cure-all for life's complexities. Stoicism doesn't eliminate pain, conflict, or sorrow. Rather, it equips you with the mindset to navigate these challenges more effectively. You might still encounter heartbreak, career disappointments, or health issues. However, if you're grounded in Stoic principles, these difficulties become catalysts for deeper growth, rather than excuses for resignation. In essence, the 12 lessons function like a well-tuned compass, ensuring that you don't lose your way amid the inevitable uncertainties of life. You find yourself more adaptive, more ethically driven, and more at peace with yourself. That sense of self-trust and resilience naturally translates into meaningful actions, both big and small. You become the kind of person who steps up to challenges, learns from failures, prioritizes what matters most, and cultivates an inner life of moral substance. All these changes emanate from a single core realization that your mind, guided by virtuous intent, wields immeasurable power over your experiences and outcomes. We've reached the end of this extensive journey through the 12 Stoic lessons, complemented by a bonus journaling tip that can amplify all these teachings. By now, you've seen how each principle offers both a strategic and a philosophical advantage in confronting life's myriad challenges, from procrastination and indecision to the fear of failure and the pursuit of deeper meaning. The question that remains is, what will you do with this knowledge? Stoicism, as repeatedly stressed, is not an armchair philosophy. Its true brilliance shines only when it's lived. So your call to action is clear. Pick at least one of these lessons and integrate it into your life starting today. Perhaps you'll begin each morning by reminding yourself to focus on what you can control, or you'll plan a conversation you've been avoiding, deliberately embracing the discomfort that has held you back. Maybe you'll utilize negative visualization to plan for potential setbacks in a personal project, or you'll adopt a daily journaling habit to reflect on your thoughts and actions. The specific choice is yours, but the key is to take that initial step right now while your motivation is fresh. Next, you're invited to share your journey with others through social media, personal blogs, or discussions with friends and family. When you articulate these Stoic lessons to your immediate community, you not only reinforce your own understanding but also potentially inspire others to embark on similar paths. Each time you revisit these ideas and experiences, you deepen your mastery of them. You become both student and teacher, embodying the Stoic principle of continuous learning. Lesson 9. Feel free to return to this article and re-explore specific sections as you evolve. Your relationship with these lessons will mature over time. That which resonated today might feel second nature a few months down the road, while new challenges may beckon you to revisit old insights with fresh eyes. Stoicism is a philosophy for all seasons of life, from periods of triumph, where it keeps you grounded, to times of crisis, where it provides a sturdy anchor. Finally, let these lessons be your springboard to broader philosophical inquiry. Stoicism, though powerful, is but one school in the vast realm of human thought. Investigating other traditions, Aristotelian ethics, Buddhist mindfulness, or even modern cognitive psychology can enrich and refine your perspective further. The central aim remains the same: to live a life characterized by intentionality, virtue, resilience, and joy. In closing, remember the apt words of Epictetus. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. The knowledge you've gathered is a treasure trove, but its value is fully realized only through action. May the 12 lessons guide you not just to fleeting bursts of productivity, but to a lasting transformation rooted in wisdom, compassion, and a deep reverence for the finite time we have. Thank you for taking this journey, and may your newfound Stoic insights serve you in all your pursuits. As the credits roll on these 12 powerful Stoic lessons, it's clear you're holding the pen to your life's greatest chapter. Embracing this wisdom has personally transformed my journey, turning everyday struggles into profound moments of growth and purpose. Now it's your turn. Will you seize control and craft the meaningful story you've always envisioned, or let it slip through your fingers? I'd genuinely love to hear from you. Which lesson resonated the deepest? What's the next bold action you're committing to today? Join the conversation, share your experiences, thoughts, and victories in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because the best part of your story is still waiting to unfold. Together, we're creating a community committed to growth, purpose, and real results. The curtain is rising on your life's greatest scene. Make it extraordinary.